Do ancient Kemetu mummies show majority Sub-Saharan African ethnic affinities? This peer-reviewed data is from the Journal of Ancient Egyptian Interconnections. The title of this peer-reviewed data is Ideas About Race and Nile Valley Histories, a consideration of racial paradigms in recent presentations on Nile Valley Africa, from Black pharaohs to money genomists, by Dr. S.O.Y Keita, biological anthropologist. The paper states, it is important to note that historically, not only was Upper Egypt the source of the core identifiable Egyptian culture, but that it was primarily Southerners of the 11th, 12th, 17th, 18th, and 25th dynasties who politically reunited Egypt and reinvigorated its culture after periods of fragmentation. So Keita states, there are also other data. One study indicates that Ramesses III carried the E1B1A Y haplogroup lineage, transmitted father to son. This lineage originated in Eastern Africa and is most common in tropical Africa. Based on current work, he had a number of sons, so the lineage would have been propagated, and he had a father. Ramesses III will be a sample of only one, but the likelihood that a late dynastic king would be the only Egyptian with this lineage is small. More importantly, it provides the impetus for additional exploration. Where and when did it get into Nile Valley and then into a royal lineage? There are our ancestors and our genes' ancestors. Analysts of the short Tandem Repeat STR data published on Ramses III and the Amarna ancient royal family, including Tutankhamun, showed a majority to have an affinity with Sub-Saharan Africans in one affinity analysis, which does not mean that they lack other affiliations. An important point that topological algorithms might give different results, which would illustrate the complexity of biological heritage and its interpretation. S.O.Y Keita states, the claim that the Islamic slave trade is the source of Sub-Saharan African genes, called the sometimes just African, is problematic in the Nile Valley context from geography and an evolutionary model, considering all of the evidence, including the Green Sahara. The African persons trafficked to Brazil, the United States, or Europe, no matter their origin, are not usually said to be products of the Christian slave trade. It will probably be more often accurate to speak of a trade of captive trafficked persons who were reduced to the status of slavery. Also, the incorrect idea that the only source of other Africans into Egypt could only be slaves is a trophy, which can be called the Black Slaves Trophy. For clarity, according to the AI program Perplexity that cites academic sources, states haplogroups are not used to determine ethnicity. They are used to trace ancestry and show where one's ancestors originated from. Haplogroups relate to deep ancestry and are not used to prove descent from any one person. A haplogroup match may or may not be a valid match for genealogy. This must be put in perspective due to the fact that a lot of modern Egyptians actually use the haplogroups that are found within various mummies to indicate that that is their ethnicity. According to the paper Preprint, Ancient Egyptian Genomes from Northern Egypt, Further Discussion by geneticist Juan Philip Gourdin, S.O.Y Keita, Juan Luc Gourdin, and linguist Elaine Anselin, they state PCR-based methods were used successfully on mummified Egyptian cats and crocodiles without creating extensive debate. Results that are likely reliable are from studies that analyze short tandem repeats, STRs, from Amarna royal mummies, 1300 BC, and of Ramesses III, 1200 BC. Ramesses III had the Y chromosome haplogroup E1B1A, an old African lineage. Our analysis of STRs from Amarna and Ramesside royal mummies with pop affiliator 1 based on the same published data indicates a 41.7% to 93.9% probability of Sub-Saharan African affinities. Most of the individuals had a greater probability of affiliation with Sub-Saharan Africans, which is not the only way to be African, a point worth repeating. According to the test results, Thuya, an Egyptian noble, will have 93.4% affiliations with Sub-Saharan African. Accordingly, Yuya would be 93.7% Sub-Saharan African affinities. Amenhotep III will have 93.7% Sub-Saharan African ethnic affinities. Wikipedia will also state, in 2022, S.O.Y Keita analyzed 8 short tandem loci STR published data from studies by Hawass 2010 and 2012, which sought to determine familial relations and research pathological features such as potential infectious diseases among the New Kingdom royal mummies, which included Tutankhamun, Amenhotep III, and Ramses III. Keita, using the pop affiliator algorithm that only has 3 choices, Eurasians, Sub-Saharan Africans, and East Asians, concluded that the study showed a majority to have an affinity with Sub-Saharan Africans in one affinity analysis. However, Keita cautioned that this does not mean that the royal mummies lack other affiliations, which he argued had been obscured in typological thinking. Keita further added that different data algorithms might give different results, which reflected the complexity of biological heritage and the associated interpretation.